are back.
It's us again, the Horror Guys.
Yeah, I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And as usual, we've got 4 full-length films and a short for you.
They're good stuff this week.
I think we've got a bunch of winners this time. We have winners. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple things before we get started. We have our November giveaway. We have 5, count 'em, 5 copies of M. Night Shyamalan's Old to give away.
Which was a pretty darn good movie. We talked about that last episode.
Yeah, we did. We both liked it.
And the review is out on the website.
And you can find the details on how to enter that little contest there at horrorguys.com/giveaway.
And just a word of warning, too, if you haven't seen the trailers or haven't read anything about it yet, that's probably one you want to go into just fresh, not knowing much about it at all.
Absolutely.
It's, M. Night, and you know how his movies are.
There might be a twist.
Unexpected, or twist, or
actually, that
a reveal.
One didn't have a twist.
Well, it was more of a reveal.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it made you wonder, and then...
As we say, don't get spoiled.
Find out. Yeah.
Okay, so you follow one of our Twitter accounts, email us, or subscribe to the newsletter by November 22nd, 2021, and we'll make our random selections then. I have 5 lucky winners. Also, we've got a new book out called The Horror Guy's Guide to the Horror Films of Vincent Price. Probably my favorite horror icon.
He was awesome.
He makes horror fun. Anyway, it covers every single one of Vincent Price's horror films and several other significant films in his career. And you can find that at horrorguys.com/books, which has a launch page that'll take you to Amazon or Barnes & Noble or Kobo or Scribd or a whole bunch of other places.
Wherever fine books are sold.
Paperback and or ebook. So this week, though, we've got, believe it or not, movies.
We got movies.
What do we got?
We got Leatherface from 2017 and Gonjiam, is that the pronunciation?
That's how I'd say it.
Haunted Asylum. Howling II, Season of the Witch, and Amityville Cop, which was a new movie. A sort of, well, I guess you could call it a spinoff of the Amityville series, a distant spinoff.
Yeah, right.
In title, it is.
It's got the name.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to start with?
Oh, let's start with Leatherface.
Leatherface.
That came out in 2017, and it's actually a prequel to the old Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
All the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films. This one came first.
It's Leatherface's origin story.
Which we really needed.
He became Leatherface.
If you ever wondered.
And how the family became the family.
You sit up at night wondering,
yeah.
I wonder why Leatherface became the Leatherface.
How did that ever happen? Well,
now you'll know.
You will.
Directed by Alexander Bustillo and Julian Murray. Written by Kim Hankel, Tobe Hooper, and Seth Sherwood. Stars Stephen Dorff, Lily Taylor, and Sam Strike. Hour and 30 minutes. Trailer in the show notes if you want to go see a little preview first. The spoiler is, this is the 8th film in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series.
Dang.
But it's a sequel to the first film, making it chronologically, sorta, the first film.
So if you're going to watch them in order, you'd want to start with this.
Yeah, I don't think you want to do that. If you start with this, you may not continue.
Oh, it wasn't that bad.
But if you like gore,
it was good.
This one is for you.
Oh, it's got loads of gore. Yeah.
Okay. Well, all right, on to the spoilery synopsis. At the Sawyer farm, it's little Jed's birthday. The first piece of cake goes to the thief they have tied up in the corner. They've kidnapped a man who may or may not have been stealing their pigs. For his birthday, Jed gets a chainsaw to kill the man with. I always wanted one of those.
I never got one for my birthday.
Yeah, neither did I. Well, his big brother helps him pull the cord and start it up. His mother, Verna, lovingly encourages him. They force him to cut the man's leg, but he can't go through with killing him. Instead, Grandpa smashes the man's head in with a mallet. Guess this was back when Grandpa could still hold the hammer.
Yep, he could.
Credits roll. Hey, that was a lot before the credits.
It was.
That was the best part of the film, actually.
Oh, pshaw.
We fast forward to Texas, 1955. A young couple almost hit an animal in the road, but it's not really an animal. It's a boy wearing a cow head. He yells, "Help me, please!" and runs into the field, and Betty follows. Jed lures her into the barn, where she falls into a pit through the floor. They smash her by dropping a tractor engine on top of her. Oh, that was creative. Sheriff Hal arrives.
And thorough.
Oh, yeah, very thorough. Sheriff Hal arrives, and Betty turns out to be his daughter. He wants to arrest Drayton Sawyer, but there's no evidence. Verna arrives and tells the sheriff what's what. Hal wants to take Jed away from her custody. You take one of mine, I'll take all of yours, Verna, he threatens.
And he does.
No, it's not just a threat. 10 years later, in 1965, the Gorman House Youth Reformatory, the doctor warns the new nurse Lizzie that most of the children at the home will end up in prison or institutionalized, one or the other. They have some serious problems. She makes friends with Bud and Jackson and runs afoul of Clarice, 3 of the patients there. Jackson warns Lizzie about Dr. Lang's Chamber of Horrors and tells her to come back tonight and see what he means. Verna comes to see Jed, but Dr. Lang doesn't want her to see him. He was taken from you for a reason. Well, she's now got a lawyer and an injunction that allows her to visit him. Dr. Lang is not cooperative, calling Verna hillbilly trash. She takes offense to that for some reason.
Yeah, imagine that.
Clarice, Bud, Lizzie, Jackson, and Ike grab a car. Okay, I skipped something there. Verna uses the bathroom, but sneaks out and goes looking for her son. Meanwhile, Bud is strapped to the chair for electroshock treatment. Verna gets the other prisoners all riled up, causing a riot.
Yeah, it's pandemonium.
Literally.
Mm-hmm.
Bud hears Verna's voice and kills the attendants and Dr. Lang. The whole group grab a car and get away. Sheriff Hal Hartman is called in to investigate the massacre at the hospital, because most of those kids at the hospital, he was the one that arrested. The escaped kids all go to a nearby diner for food. Ike and Clarice kill a few people, but Bud gets shot in the side. They hole up in a mobile home and find a dead man inside. Lizzie patches up Bud while Clarice has sex with a corpse.
What?
What? Meanwhile,
We mentioned, gross outs and gore. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. This has got them.
Yeah, Clarice is basically your evil girl. Bud is this big fat guy with long shaggy hair. He looks kind of dumb, and he doesn't speak. Who might he be?
Who might he gonna be?
Lizzie is the nurse. Jackson is this young guy. He's good looking, kind of not quite as bad as the other kind of guys. And Ike looks like he's a skinhead Nazi kind of guy.
And at this point, you don't know who the kid is of the family.
But
because
you
the
can
tell.
tell.
Well, the identities got changed and
legally
mixed up, the
hidden,
records. Yes. Yeah, so you don't know who her daughter or who her son is.
Right.
Among these kids.
Okay, so Lizzie tries to escape in the middle of the night, but that just causes a fight. After the fight, Bud whacks Ike over the head and drags him away, reenacting a very familiar curb-stomping film from another film. Yeah. Clarice, while looking for Ike, finds a deputy instead. Sheriff Hal tortures her for information. He's taking this all very seriously, and then he executes her. Wait, the cops aren't supposed to do that, are they?
They're not supposed to do that.
Not
no.
supposed to.
No.
Lizzie, Bud, and Jackson are on the run again. A cop shoots Bud, but Jackson and Lizzie take his car and drive away. Hal pursues and shoots some of Jackson's face off. Their car crashes. Wait, Bud is dead? I thought Bud was going to be Leatherface.
Surprise, he's not going to be Leatherface.
He's not Leatherface. When Lizzie wakes up, she's cuffed to Hal's car. Hal pulls her out of the car and into an old barn. He explains that Jackson is Jed Sawyer. This is the same barn where Jed killed Hal's daughter. Jackson was the boy in the cow mask. Deputy Sorrell tells Verna what's happened, and she has her other boys kill him. Verna goes to the barn with a chainsaw. The family soon overpowers Hal and rescues what's left of Jed, who can no longer speak because much of his jaw is gone. Back at the Sawyer farm, Vern sews Jed back together again, but he's not a pretty sight. She puts a leather harness on his face to hold it all together until it heals. Huh, that's where that came from.
Mm-hmm.
Lizzie unties herself and helps Hal. They're inside the Sawyer house, and it looks a lot like what we've seen there before in other films. They're recaptured quickly, and this time Jed/Jackson brings in the chainsaw, and now he has no hesitation about using it. Lizzie runs into the wood, and everyone pursues. She gets caught in a bear trap and tries to talk to Jed into letting her go, but Verna tells him to kill her.
He ain't having it.
Who will he obey? Time passes, and we later on see Jed in the cellar sewing a face mask made of what's left of Hal's head. The end.
So it
Or
begins.
is it the beginning?
So it begins.
Well, it seems obvious from the physique and the mental capacity that Bud is going to turn out to be Leatherface, but that's not the way it works out.
No, that was a
Red herring time.
Yeah.
The stuff at the hospital is all really good, but it slows down a lot once they're wandering in the countryside, I thought at least. Once Jed and Verna are reunited, it picks up with the action again. It's not the best film out there, but it's a fun prequel and a good origin story for the franchise. Lots of gore and gross-out moments with a strong cast.
All in all, a thumbs up.
You liked it too?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
All right.
Yeah, give it a thumbs up.
You want to watch an old film?
Old. Classic.
Yeah, way back a few
Well,
months ago we did
Okay,
Halloween.
not that old. But,
And then Halloween
you know.
2 we did as a bonus review on our email newsletter, horrorbulletin.substack.com, hint, hint, if you want to read our review of Halloween 2. But Halloween, what?
3. They made a third one.
With Michael Myers.
Well, that's just crazy because Michael Myers died at the end of the second one.
But
And so did the doctor.
He did, though, didn't he?
He did.
What are they
Well,
going to do this time around?
Something completely different.
What?
So this is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, is the subtitle.
That's a long one.
It is. Directed by Tommy Lee Wallace. Written by Tommy Lee... I can't say this name. Tommy Lee Wallace.
That's a hard
three
name
names
to
are hard to
say.
say, yes. And John Carpenter and Nigel Keel. Stars Tom Atkins, who is awesome. Stacy Nelkin and
Dan O'Herlihy.
Dan. Dan? You have Dan here.
Oops.
Oops. It is Dan. Okay. Irish guy.
Yeah.
Runtime 1 hour 38 minutes, and there's a link to the trailer. And the story is that John Carpenter was done with Michael Myers, killed him off, and he was going to make a Halloween anthology series. Like every Halloween movie would be a different kind of story.
Okay.
And yeah.
Creepshow-like.
But then ended up going back to Michael Myers again. Yeah. Well, the spoiler-free judgment zone on this movie. It's not a continuation of the first movie at all, but a standalone story. It's still horror and suspense, with more than a bit of science fiction blended with magic. It's not one to overthink, but it is a fun and entertaining film. Not worth hating on just because there's no Michael Myers doing the killing this time around. A lot of people hate on it.
I think a lot of people do hate this because it's not Michael Myers. And, of course, you have to have Michael Myers in a Halloween film. If you just forgot the name of this film...
And just watch it
would be really
and
good.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
And don't overthink it. Because the
Well,
science is...
yeah.
Well, there's magic. Okay, every time the science doesn't make sense, just say, it's magic.
But it is magic.
Yeah. Well, credits roll as we watch a 1982 computer try to draw a jack-o'-lantern on screen.
Best
Scary.
credits ever.
Actually, it is kind of cool. Yeah, it's very retro. Yeah. We open on a road in Northern California on October the 23rd, and it gives a countdown all the time of how many days till Halloween.
8 more days till Halloween.
Well, in the song, too.
Halloween.
Yeah. A man runs down the road trying to evade a car. One of the suited men from the car attacks him, but he gets away. An hour later, we go to a filling station, and we see a TV news story report talking about one of the stones from Stonehenge gone missing months ago, and they still have no idea where it went. That's useful for the story.
Somehow I doubt that'd be big news months later.
Well, interesting, on a slow news day. I mean, it's a big event. I mean, the stone weighed tons, so a mystery, Well, anyway, the show breaks away to give us a commercial for the Silver Shamrock Mask Company. with the song.
You know how the song goes if you've heard it.
Well, you might know how the song goes by now. If not, you'll hear it many times throughout the movie as it counts down closer to Halloween. The station attendant is leapt on by the man from earlier, holding one of those Halloween masks. "They're coming," he whispers before passing out. Daniel, Chalice, stops by his ex's place after work, and he brought his kids cheap Halloween masks. Well, they aren't impressed because they already have the new silver shamrock masks. All the kids have those.
They're the best.
They are hot this season. Well, Chalice is a doctor, and he's called in to look at the man from before, who they took to the hospital. Well, the suited man from the car sneaks into the hospital and kills the man with the mask. The man then goes out to the car and blows himself up.
These guys are all wearing the suits. They all look identical, just like, Facebook executives.
Well, there is that vibe, I guess, yeah. They don't look identical, but they all have the same build.
Yeah.
And kind of dressed identically, yeah.
Yeah, not like clones or anything. Not
No.
that much.
Well, the victim's daughter, Ellie, comes in the next morning to identify the body. The police tell Daniel the murderer must have been on drugs, but he doesn't believe it at all. He saw the guy, and he looked like a calm businessman. Well, he asks a lady friend in the coroner's office to take a look personally and see what she can find out for him. Well, Chalice runs into Ellie at a bar. He tells her what he knows about what happened to her dad. Harry ran a store that also sold silver shamrock Halloween masks, and he was last seen heading to the factory. So the two decide to team up and investigate. They get to town, and it's a weird little place. It's a little factory town. Everyone notices them as they drive in, and the people of this small California town all have Irish accents, which Brian picked up on right away. Well, it's because they're descended from immigrants way back in the day, and I think they're kind of insular and don't have much contact with the outside world, except for the salespeople that come in to buy the masks. Well, Mr. Cochran owns the Silver Shamrock Novelty Company and lords over the town as their benefactor. Various people check into the same motel where Chalice and Ellie are staying. The whole town shuts up and goes dark at the 6 o'clock curfew. A bum tells Chalice some stories and then lumbers off into the darkness. The bum is executed shortly thereafter by some men in the suits. They must be the thugs or something. Marge, a businesswoman there to pick up an order, introduces herself to Ellie. That night, Marge examines one of the little silver shamrock buttons that comes on every mask.
Don't do that.
Yeah, she sticks a pin into the circuitry, prying at it. What's this doing?
Why does a little plastic pin on a mask have circuitry, you might wonder?
Yeah, and she wonders. Well, it lasers her face off, and then bugs crawl out of what is left over. Meanwhile...
Okay, didn't see that coming.
Yeah, that was, creepy scene. Meanwhile, Chalice and Ellie have sex, because, why not?
Because it's a horror film.
Yeah. Cochran's men arrive to clean up Marge's remains, and Chalice gets to meet Cochran, who assures Chalice that, she's being taken to our hospital where we have the best medical facilities at the factory. Yes. Well, the Kupfer family is there for a tour of the factory, and they include Chalice and Ellie, who tag along for the tour. The dad of the family, he was the number one salesperson, and so he and his family have been invited there for a special tour by Cochran. Well, it's a big factory with an attached museum full of novelties and toys and automatons. Really cool.
I've been to places like that.
Very cool place, yeah. And we see that Cochran has been building clockwork toys for decades. Ellie spots her father's car hidden in one of the garages there. And they also see a large number of the slim-suited young men, just like the one Chalice saw kill her father. Well, Chalice tries to call the police or anyone out of town, but he can't get an outside line. When he returns, Ellie has vanished, and 5 of the suited men come after him. Chalice sneaks into the factory that night and learns that the suited men are robots. He's captured. He got away the first time. He ran.
See, just like Facebook employees.
The first time they came for him, they were busting in the front door, and he climbed out the bathroom door out the back. So. But anyway, he gets captured. Well, the next morning is the 31st, Halloween. Cochran shows Chalice the heart of the operation, the big stone in the middle of the warehouse that's connected to a bunch of computers. The Stonehenge. Ended up there.
That's where it went.
Yes. It's the one missing, and Cochran chuckles about how they managed to get it there.
He doesn't really explain how.
No. Apparently there's a little speck of the stone in every mask disc. Cochran wants to give Chalice a demonstration, so he turns on a monitor, which shows the Kupfer family locked in a room to watch TV, a metal, reinforced room with a locked door. Dad thinks Cochran just wants to get his input on some new ads or something. The TV plays the Silver Shamrock commercial, which tells their son to put on his mask. The mask activates, which makes the boy collapse when his head turns into spiders, snakes, and bugs that kill the parents.
Ooh.
The demonstration is a success. Cochran is very pleased, yes. Well, we then see a montage of kids all over the country wearing those masks. This is going to be big. Cochran gives Chalice a long monologue on what Halloween really means. The planets are in alignment, and it's time again. Time for sacrifice. The world is going to change. Well, Chalice escapes through the air shafts. You notice how places always have these gigantic air shafts in movies.
And they're clean, too.
Oh, yes, clean and wide open. Yeah. Well, he calls his harpy of an ex, tries to warn her to get rid of the kids' masks, but she won't listen. He frees Ellie, sneaks back into the main control room, and starts pressing buttons. He activates the flashing pumpkin sequence, and then pours hundreds of the killer discs onto the robotic-suited men and lab techs below, shorting them out. The Stonehenge rock itself activates and disintegrates Cochran before blowing up the whole factory.
That was convenient.
It sure was, yeah. As they drive away, Chalice and Ellie hear the Silver Shamrock ad on the radio. It's still going to happen in just a few minutes. Well, Ellie attacks him. She's been replaced by a robot.
Oh.
We're just loading all kinds of spoilers in this.
Yeah.
Well, if you haven't seen it,
Well, it's only like 30 years old.
Yeah. Chalice runs into the same service station from the beginning and calls the TV station, begging them to stop the ad. 9 o'clock rolls around. The ad is taken off the air. Almost. It's still showing on one channel. Yeah.
Oops.
Shall I read your commentary too?
Sure.
Well, Brian wrote, and I kind of agree with, I tweaked this a little bit too. This is easily the most hated and maligned of the Halloween movies, simply because Michael Myers doesn't show up. If it had been named literally anything else, it would be much more fondly remembered, and I think that's correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The music does get annoying at times, but the idea itself is pretty unique. Yeah, and far-fetched. Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
Harnessing the power of Stonehenge through modern technology. Yeah. The technology is vague and non-specific enough.
There's computer technology involved.
There's computers and chips and computer things.
Remember, this was the 80s.
And it was the early 80s.
Scary stuff, computers.
Yeah. Well, Dan O'Herlihy. He's creepy as a Cochran. And,
yeah, he is.
I mean, he does such a great job of putting a jovial smile, and he's just evil to the core. I mean, just chilling hatred. And a little glee thrown in.
Oh, yeah, he's having a good old time.
Oh, yeah, he's enjoying it, yeah. Tom Atkin does a great job here, and the others are kind of along for the ride. And, it's a fun movie. And just don't watch it expecting an unkillable murderer like Michael Myers. And how many days till Halloween?
3 more days till Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. 3 more days till Halloween, Silver Shamrock. Wow.
And they sang it to that tune because it was royalty free.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, something that's not royalty free is the Saw movies. And we have a short film this week made by some fans called Saw Intoxify, a fan-made Saw short.
And it was pretty darn good.
Yeah, okay. That's one opinion.
Okay. I give it a big thumbs up.
Okay. Written and directed by Micah Gronvelt, stars Omid Harrison, 6 minutes 20 seconds, and in the show notes there is a link to go watch it on YouTube. So, a man is chained to a chair with a lit light bulb in his mouth. That's probably going to hurt soon.
It's low wattage.
His hand is affixed to the chair arm with some kind of metal contraption over his ring finger. Billy, the little doll thing from the Saw movies, pops up on a screen. It claims he regularly takes off his wedding ring to cheat on his wife. He drinks too much. He's mean to others. He doesn't appreciate what's been given to him. He has to find a way out of the machine before the time is run down, or he will die. Yep, that sounds like a Saw movie.
It's a Saw trap.
Well, it looks great. The set, makeup, and the flashbacks all look good and are very well shot. The acting is also excellent. The only gripe I have with this is the Billy doll. I watched this short 3 times and could still only make out about a third of what the thing was saying.
See, I didn't have that much trouble. I was able to understand him.
You only watched it once, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my opinion is the effect they used to digitize his voice was not very well done, and the YouTube video doesn't offer any subtitles. Yes, I checked. I'm still not quite sure what of all the details surrounding the trap the man was in, although it was really interesting and well designed. It's definitely worth a watch. I can't even say you could lip read because it's just a doll.
Yeah, you can't lip read Billy. No.
Oh, well. It's good, though. All right. So, way back when we did the Amityville horror. Then we did Amityville 2 and Amityville 3 and a couple of the other Amityvilles. And now I don't even know what number this is. It's Amityville 76 for all I know.
Amityville Cop.
From this year, 2021, a new release. Directed by Gregory Hatanaka. Written by Gino Wow, we got some names this time. Gino McGahee. Stars Jason Tower, Nicole D'Angelo, and Chris Spinelli. Hour and 9 minutes. Spoiler-free is... It's a low-budget zombie cop movie. You could tell that right from the poster. If that's your thing, it's as good as any other low-budget zombie cop movie, and it does have a couple of good laughs.
Yeah, it's very much a dark comedy.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah. This is not a scary thing.
Entirely serious.
No.
Oh, there's some scares and creepiness, but yeah, it's a mix.
Okay.
It's a horror thriller, and it's not listed that way in IMDb, but I think it almost should be.
What is it listed as?
Horror thriller, not comedy.
No.
I don't know. It was awfully tongue-in-cheek a lot of times.
Yeah, and I think the low budget made it sort of funny, even if it wasn't supposed to be in some cases.
But there were scares and creepiness and gore and decent special effects.
Okay,
and, yeah.
But we both kind of liked it.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
There are far, far worse Amityville films out there.
And we've seen them, yeah, so far, yeah.
Okay, so a man gets pulled over by a police car. He rolls down the window, the officer approaches, and the demon zombie-looking cop kills him. Credits roll. Nope, didn't see that coming. Officer Miller gets called into the boss's office to explain some problems from Miller's busy bust Friday night. It seems the suspect was roughed up a little excessively. What? It's a rogue cop with a screaming boss? Huh, okay.
Huh.
We soon learn that Miller is not the greatest cop. Val, his partner, corroborates the story and then calls Miller an asshole. It's New Year's Eve, and they're all going to be going to the party tonight. The demon cop does bad things to a homeless guy and is then seen by another homeless man. A new cop, Lewis, is assigned to the station, and she's partnered with Cooper. The governor has limited parties to under 10 people, so the captain wonders what to do about the party tonight. And this is something that comes up a couple of times in the film. They usually have big New Year's parties.
Well, but it was the time of COVID, so...
Yeah, they explain that the governor has limited their budget so they can only have 10 people. And yet it was made in the time of COVID, and there's mention of other things that hint toward COVID, but no one's wearing a mask. Nobody actually mentions a disease.
Nobody mentions the C word.
It's like COVID was written into the script and written into
And
this
yet
party
not.
deal, but then they decided not to at the last minute.
Uh-huh.
It was weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so Miller and Val get briefed on the dead homeless guy who was butchered by someone that's superhuman strong. Lewis and Cooper arrest the second homeless man, who is ranting and raving about a demon. Val recognizes him and asks what's up. He tells them about the devil cop. The captain overhears this and looks like he knows something that may be upsetting him. We get a flashback. 20 years earlier, a bunch of Satanists sacrifice Officer Wilson on a pentagram. They torture him into submission. His partner, Officer Benson, comes in and shoots some of the Satanists. Wilson gets up as a demon, and Benson fails to kill him. Wilson says, "I'll return." We flash forward to now Captain Benson remembering all this. And at no point do they say why it took 20 years to come back. Miller tells Cooper that something's wrong with the captain. Homeless man Gus sobers up, but his story doesn't change. "I think he's coming here." It's time for the big party. Demon Officer Wilson kills a cop out in the hallway. Wilson trashes the captain's desk and finds a newspaper clipping about himself from back in the day. Lewis staggers off to the restroom, but Wilson kills her instead. Cooper finds her body and alerts the others. Gus tells Tom that he plans to get his life back together tomorrow, but dies immediately after.
Yeah, that didn't work out for him.
People are always getting their life together tomorrow.
Oof.
Wilson then infects Tom, turning him into a thing like himself. Captain Benson tells Miller, Cooper, and Val the whole story about what happened to Wilson. They all call the captain a coward, both back then and now as well. And he agrees with them. The captain confronts Wilson. Wilson wants him to feel the pain that he felt, so he pours gasoline all over the captain. Before he can light him up, the captain shoots a rocket launcher point blank at Wilson. The scene cuts to firework explosions outside, giving a picture of what transpired in the room just now. Where do you get that rocket launcher?
Militarization of the police.
Oh my, listen to you.
Well, it's a thing.
Why would
They just happen to have
actually need a rocket launcher?
For cases like this, see? It was a perfect use if he hadn't had it, you know?
Miller, Cooper, and Val wait outside and get chewed out by the boss's boss, who doesn't believe any of this nonsense they've told her about what happened. She storms off inside to look for herself and finds Wilson still being an evil demon.
Whoops.
All right, that's the end.
Take more than a rocket launcher to kill a demon, I guess.
Yeah, it does. It's low budget, but the cinematography is good. The acting is fine, the basic story is fine, and the production values are good considering the budget. Several scenes are dragged out a bit too long, which makes the whole thing kind of drag a little bit. The slow pace makes the first half of the short film feel really long. Yeah, this whole thing is an hour and 9 minutes. And it does feel a little long at times.
But it's so short that it cancels out.
Yeah. I wonder how many people watch these films just because they have the word Amityville in the title.
I bet some.
But that's all this is, because they didn't even mention the word Amityville in the film. There's no signs in the background. It's not on the police cars.
I guess the
It's just
implication is
nothing.
it's supposed to be in the same town of Amityville where the other bad things happened.
All right.
But it's only implied. Yeah, I didn't see anything. I
It-
didn't catch anything.
It's like they made the film and then figured out that 2 other films were called Zombie Cop, and then they had to think of something else to stick on the label at the last minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's other Zombie Cop movies out there. Although it does start slow with annoying characters, by the time we get to the end, most of them become a little more likable. Overall, it's well done, although a little poorly paced.
All in all, a thumbs up.
Yeah. And that takes us to our last film this week, Gonjiam, Haunted Asylum from 2018. Directed by Bomsik John, written by Bomsik John, Sang-min Park, stars Wee Ja Jun, Yoo Ji Jun, Sung Wook Lee. Hee hee hee, I love these names.
So if you haven't gotten the idea already, it's an Asian movie.
It is, 1 hour, 35 minutes.
Korean.
It's tense and it's creepy. The effects and acting are top-notch, and the cast really sells that they're jumpy and terrified throughout the film.
They do sell it good, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a found footage kind of guy most of the time, but this one's pretty good. I like this one.
Mm-hmm. It was. Well, really well done.
Yeah. A group of teens get to the 4th floor and look for room 402. "We're real men, sucker," one says into the phone camera. They open the door, laughing maniacally. We then cut to Horror Times, a YouTube channel that shows paranormal investigation. They plan to go to Gonjiam, one of the 7 most haunted places in the world. And if you Google it, it really is. It was closed in 1979 after a string of murders and the disappearance of the director. It was said to be built over a place where Japanese invaders killed a bunch of Korean freedom fighters. Then the director was accused of being a mass murderer before she vanished. There are now countless rumors of ghost appearances.
She was into ping pong, too. Ping pong
Which
is therapy.
sounds random, but it comes up later.
It does play into it, yeah.
Well, we meet the 7 people that are planning to go to the asylum. 4 guys and 3 girls, whose names we just won't get into. Everyone who saw a ghost at the asylum heard a ping pong ball first.
Well, sometimes it was challenging because all three gals and all 3 guys, all 3 guys, well, the ones that were inside, the same demographic. The same...
They're Koreans.
Yeah, and the same built, the same basic features, and then it was dark, and then on grainy footage sometimes. And sometimes it was a challenge, like which one was
the one
which,
girl was wearing a scarf, and one of them had a white dress, and one of them had a dark dress.
There were
you could tell the 3 girls apart.
Not
the 2
always,
guys
but
inside...
sometimes it was just tight face shots, because they were wearing cameras that captured their face, and... Yeah, but it was, I
didn't have too much trouble telling them apart, but I never did catch anybody's names.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So some of these you can't tell. But, okay, so their goal is to hope for 1 million views on YouTube so they can make $500,000. I am pretty sure YouTube doesn't pay anywhere near that.
That's not how that works.
50 cents a view.
Not just for... I wonder if something
If that
got
were the
lost
case,
in
we'd still be doing our
translation
videos. We hear about the 3 boys trying to get into room 402. They went insane right afterwards. The group arrives and sets up a big tent as a base camp. It looks like they packed for a week's expedition, just one night.
Yeah, they are really well equipped.
Yeah, they are. They got cameras and equipment, and they sneak in through the locked gate because they're not allowed to be there. They're hiding from the police, and yet they've got this tent that's like half as big as our house.
And brightly lit.
Dozens
and full
of
equipment.
Computers, brightly lit. Yeah, you could spend a week in this tent. Okay, so a couple of the guys have been there a little earlier and already set up cameras inside the asylum. They all go in when it's time, except for the one guy in the tent to watch the video monitors, handle the live feed, and act as director. One of the doors closes all by itself, which gets everyone excited. They spread out in pairs, investigating various parts of the building. Finally, they come to room 402, which no one has ever been able to get open. They decide to save that for later and go back to the door downstairs. They set up a psychic ritual in the director's room, which they have rigged with many strings and little balls as warning alarms. If anything moves, they're gonna know it. They do the ritual. The bells start ringing and the candle flickers. They don't see anything, but now they all believe it's real. We soon see that it was faked for the viewers. The director put a couple of the guys up to it. Those turkeys.
Oh, it's all fake. There's nothing real going on at all here, is there?
Suddenly, things start getting weird out in the tent where the director is. Inside, they find a doll in the lab that used to belong to a patient, and one of the girls gets completely hysterical, where it's not where she saw it a few minutes ago. Then they go into a room with little lockers that look like coffins, and that goes badly for them. Then there's some graffiti outside that says, "Let's live," which changes to "Let's die."
That's not good when the graffiti changes.
No. A pair of the girls get scared and leave the building. The director lies to his accomplices about changing the sign, but they don't really believe him. Meanwhile, the girls outside aren't really outside anymore. Then they run into something nasty. Meanwhile, the last pair is still upstairs trying to cut their way into room 402. The director straps on a camera and heads inside after them. Not to rescue them, but to cut that door open. Inside, they find the cursed ping-pong ball. The door opens.
Uh-oh.
The director runs up the steps and approaches room 402. He doesn't see any of his friends, which ought to be strange, but he goes on anyway.
Dark forces conspiring against them.
Then he gets his wish to meet the asylum director.
Yeah. It goes poorly for these poor kids.
Yeah, these guys don't travel light for a bunch of trespassers. They have tons of equipment, far more than they could have actually fit in that van they were driving. Whenever there are blinky cameras and unreliable spotlight, you can count on jump scares. There aren't any jump scares early on, but it's filmed like there should be, which increases tension even in the early scenes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of that really quiet, walking through the darkness, peeking around corners, and you just know they're going to jump out at you at any point.
Something is going to happen.
And then they don't.
But sometimes it did.
Later on they did it,
Yeah.
after you've given up and stopped being all tense for it. It's all dark and shadowy, but you can easily see what you need to see. Yeah, this thing is like totally in the dark. They got headlamps, but
It's
you can
impressive
see
how well they
everything.
were able to
Yeah, the
get
lighting
us
is
to
really
see.
good.
Yeah, uh-huh.
It's a very creepy location, which I heard it was a school somewhere.
Yeah, they couldn't get permission to use the actual
The real asylum, yeah. And the acting is very good. I'd absolutely recommend watching this one at home, alone in the dark.
Oh, yeah.
And it turned out I like this one a lot more than expected.
Yep, same here.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, big thumbs up.
And that's our show.
It is?
Yeah. Stop in at horrorguys.com to read the reviews, to sign up for the bonus reviews once a week at horrorbulletin.substack.com. Pick up some of our books, horrorguys.com/books, and tune in next week where we'll be watching 4 more films.
What are we going to see?
Well, let's see. How about The Werewolf, a classic from 1956.
A classic that you probably never heard of.
You'd think with a name like The Werewolf, it would be more popular.
No, not so.
And then a werewolf movie you probably have heard of, The Howling II, Your Sister is a Werewolf.
Ow!
Oh, yes. Not having anything to do with werewolves is Children of the Corn from 1984. The first one of another long series.
Oh, there's been many of those movies, hasn't there?
9.
Oof.
Stephen King's most successful series.
Huh.
Maybe not in money, but in number of sequels.
Uh-huh.
And a new one, another international film. This is the one we got confused with the subtitles about.
Yes.
Dead and Beautiful from 2021. That one's on Shudder right now.
I believe that's a vampire movie.
It could be, yeah. So we got, what do we got? 2 werewolves, a vampire, and some religious hillbillies. That's what we need.
Monster in the Corn.
Oh yeah, there is a monster. You're right.
Yeah, it's not just them being crazy and
I think the
culty.
religious hillbillies are way scarier than that monster, though.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm Brian,
And I'm Kevin.
and we'll see you next week.
See ya.